Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is the fourth day of the Deeper Than Design Summit, and I'm really happy to be your host today. We will be having a wonderful conversation with Pedro Burgos. He is an engineer in industrial design, and he works at KAOKA, Sustainable Habitat. And today we're going to talk about sustainability. How does that look in interior design? So it's gonna be very, very, very interesting, and I really hope that you enjoy it. So I'm going to call Pedro, and he's going to present himself. Hi, Pedro. Welcome.
Hi, Papi. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Well, welcome to the fourth day, and I'm sure that everybody's looking forward to our conversation.
It's a pleasure to talk with you, and thank you very much for the invitation.
Oh, thank you for coming. So I wanted to explain, well, you're going to explain a little bit more about that, but Kaoka, which is the company that you work with right now, comes from Matercia that has a research in sustainable materials. So tell us, how did you jump from researching materials, sustainable materials, to creating products for the everyday life, like accessories, furniture, lighting? Tell us a little bit about that, please.
For sure. I want to say KAOKA is a result of many years of research in materials and using new technologies like additive manufacturing that I probably speak later. Matercia sells the products we are being developing through these years using new materials, certainly sustainable materials that could be applied to additive manufacturing processes that allow us to create new products with different forms. We can apply new texture and finishing these products to create products that could fit in different places.
Okay, that sounds very interesting. So, what would you define? How would you define the essence of Kauka?
Yeah, for sure. I would say that we are looking for products that are natural and warm. We can say are natural. We say we usually take some references from nature to create this
Mhm.
product and have a little history behind all the products to create a yes look behind the products, and that's not an all-in-one object, simple object. That's always history behind them that could create an atmosphere in different places and be with all the users that buy it. And I would say create a warm spaces. We play with lights, different materials that play with the light and reflections, texturing, that we can obtain different results that could
Mhm.
be interesting in some places.
So you have been talking about different materials. Can you explain a little bit to us what are these materials and where do these materials come from so that people understand what's behind all these objects that you work
Great. We in the research group for University of Cadiz, that Matercia is a spin-off of this research group. We first create new materials, in our case for additive manufacturing, but we try to use materials, uh, trying to avoid the petroleum,
with? Okay.
using bio-based materials as soon as possible, as much as we can. And we develop new materials using biomasses, due
Okay.
to some projects we did last years, two of them called Abicork and Future Cork, two projects we are involved. And we use these biomasses in
Mhm.
certain the cork in our case, but now we are trying new biomasses like of peat, for example, to revalorize them in and create new products. So we usually mix this biomass with the polymers, like I say, as bio based as possible
Mm-hmm.
to create this material that is recyclable like other polymers to
Okay.
create the product. That's the idea.
I understand. In the first time that we met, so that maybe it's easier for people to understand. The first time that we met, we talked about products like that are uh, disposed any other how. For example, the little bone of the olive, things like that. Those are the biomaterials that you use. And we also talked about 3D printing. So I know that that's the way that you produce some or the majority of your products. So can you explain to us a little bit about the printing?
Sure. This technology, for all who didn't know about this process, is this is not new in the industry, but nowadays we are using large format additive manufacturing that is similar to the usually printers. Probably everyone say use filaments, polymer filaments to create products, and the technology works depositing layer by layer to create
Mhm.
the final product. With large additive manufacturing, we can process more complex products. For example, in our case with cork, with part of cork with polymers, and create big parts. That's why if you see the product of KAOKA, you see the layers and the texturing, because the technology allows us to obtain this kind of finishing in the product. That is super interesting because we got control everything that happens in each layer to obtain different results. That's why it's super interesting.
And yeah, that sounds very interesting because I'm guessing that you can create different textures, like things that are totally innovative. And how do you integrate these two processes, like the innovative part where you have this new technology and this new kind of material with aesthetics, the aesthetics of design and design products itself?
Yes. We try to use as much as we can the technology, and we can everything is so we can, how can I say, use the technology as much as we can to create new forms that probably other manufacturing processes cannot. For example, the letting materials always has a big part of material, and
Mhm.
we rest the material. But in our case, we don't create any residue during the process. All the material we use is for creating the product, and that's okay for creating sustainable products. And that's why additive manufacturing is a good process in terms of sustainability. We The residues we create during the process is too low.
That sounds very interesting. I was thinking, what is the experience that you want the people to have when they buy a product from KAOKA?
I think I will think that people who buy Kaukas products are know that this product has an history, and that's not only a simple object. It's cool. It's useful. It is thinking before the form, also thinking in the materials and the final use of the products from the start to the end. That's important because we're talking about that, but that usually we try to buy everything constantly every week, and that's not sustainable, in my opinion. I think it's better to buy a only product that fits for you perfectly and do his function as best as can, that too much products that probably in 2 or 3 days you don't know that you buy it before.
Yes, that's true. We were talking about that before starting the live. We were talking about how being sustainable is difficult in a world that consumes in this way, no, that we are used to. But now that you talk about sustainability, I would like you to maybe shortly explain what sustainability is and how is it that you use it in a deeper level in KAOKA.
Okay, I think sustainability is create products thinking all the life is gonna take the product for the start using as much sustainable material you can, and also one the in Kaoka we try to create the product with long-term use, but in the case when you don't want it more, you can recycle or reuse in other way. That's for me sustainable. Create products that fits for you perfectly what you are looking for, but also
Mhm.
in the case you didn't need it more, you can or recycle or reuse it using another thing, but not create more and more residues, buying more and more products. That's the I think is the idea of sustainable for me.
Okay, and what will you tell, for example, uh, designers who are working an interior design project? How can they start choosing these materials and these products that are more sustainable than other products? How can they uh, choose based in this long-term use of the product? What will you tell them?
Okay, I think it's important to know first of all the use of the product you are looking for, because if you know the use of the product in the local or the site you want to put the product, but if you choose the wrong material, for example, so you create or you are going to use, I think, a lamp, for example,
Mhm.
but this lamp is going to be near the sun, the external sun, but the materials degrades too much with the sun, it's not going to be a long-term product. So this is a problem. So if you know where are the condition of the product where we are going to expose the product, is the best way to select in the start the materials you are going to use, because they are more appropriately to use the material to the use to the final use, we can say. That's what I think.
Yeah, I think that we often speak about products that are environmentally sustainable.
Hmm.
But what about the sustainability of the people living in these spaces? You talk a little bit about this, like that it has to be a long term use. But how do you see the connection between this ecological or environmental sustainability with human well being?
Okay, I think we first the user is good to know what want for the spaces we are going to live, and then that's the point. I think they can choose the correct product for this space, because if you don't know why are you choosing some lamps, some other products, objects, um, for people who take it before or what, that's very important. And the spaces to know better as soon as you can the space where are going to put this object, to obtain a object that gives you something else than an object put on a table or something. This can give you a little bit more, I think.
Yes. I think so too, because it's very important to be conscious about this. But I think what you're talking about is like the needs. You have to be able to analyze the needs from a practical point of view, but also then from an emotional point of
Hmm.
view. So, what do you think could be an emotional impact of products produced like this in someone's space? Like, is it not only that they are helping the planet, but also that they have an impact in that person?
I think some objects can obtain some calm spaces produced in the people to live better. I think if you put so many objects in a table, probably you cannot concentrate what are you doing. But if you select it one by one, I think it could create an atmosphere probably better for you, for where you live, how you live. I think that um, could be interesting for the user who buy the object.
Yes. So, do you believe, for example, that this more responsible use of resources has a deeper impact in people's lives? That
Yes.
it's not only uh, that they have a beautiful thing, but also that it helps them to be have a better relationship with their home. No.
Yes, in our cases, for example, the materials that have biomasses with the plastic give the colors and the finishing of the product more natural, more warm. That probably could be a simple plastic, for example, give some more natural finish, and could be interesting in some warm places and atmospheres.
Yes, that's a very conscious choose of the materials that people are using, and that is maybe some of the benefits that it has to choose these kind of materials. Besides, for example, giving warmth to the space, is there any other benefit to choosing these materials in a home? This kind of materials?
Mm, I don't know exactly, but I don't know. In the past, but all the products probably has some parts with natural elements like cork, wood, and they usually feels the with the user more natural, more warm to the touch and the use, and I think it probably affects in the use of these products.
Yes. During this week we have been seeing that everything that comes around in our homes has an impact, no?
Yes.
So also having products that are responsible with uh, our environment and that are also a good choice for us, that for sure has a positive impact in how we live. So I also wanted to ask you, maybe what would you say to designers who want to create more responsible and impactful spaces, but don't know where to begin, how to do this?
Okay. I think it's super important to know the final user of the space and what it's going to do in this space. And with all this information, you can obtain or select the products that fits perfectly in the all, all the states, no, of the user in the place. Considering not only usability, probably also aesthetics, and history behind the products. And I don't know, for example, when I design lamps, I should know where to use the level of luminosity and what I want to obtain. For example, and there is necessary use more than one lamp. For example, you probably need two. But this is important to know if you want to work only in a little table or in a big one. You are going to live with other people. That's all. This kind of requirements
Mhm.
probably affects the final results. That's why it's super important not only to know the space, but all but also the user.
Do you have, for example, stories like a story that you can tell us about a client, or how do you work with them? Because there's something that we haven't told our audience today, and it's also that Kaoka has this part of their business where they do personalized projects. So if you could tell us maybe a story about clients or how these products have been have had an impact in somebody's life, we would really like to know.
A client bought olive lamp. I think was for a song with music, and in terms of the clients, it was to create a new warm and a more warm space with
Mhm.
these lights, focus light, and it becomes a better space for tranquility in terms of the client.
Well, thank you. So I want to go back a little bit to talk about sustainability. And
Mhm.
there was something that we talked about before, and it is that now sustainability, the term sustainability, the same as maybe coaching, has been a little bit misused.
Yes.
No, like it is not always it's used a lot for marketing and a lot for yeah, to mislead people, and it's not really exactly what they are doing.
Hmm.
So I would like to know, why is it for Kaoka so important, this sustainability part?
I think the industry using this word a lot. Um, and industrial design, I think, is super important to consider this word in every phase of during the developing of the product, from the selection of the material that we talk about to the process that we in our case we create a process super with sustainable. It has a super sustainable process. We try to reduce as much as we can the material is not used for the product, and also the final use of the product. I think um, I think this all project during we think the product to the final use of the product, that is super important because some of the products we can buy in every moment, usually the electronic one, probably in 2 3 years is out, we cannot use it, or in some worse places we cannot repair it. That's a super problem for me, and we try to avoid that. In the case we a product that could happen doesn't work in any time, you
Mhm.
the best
That breaks,
way,
or that, yeah.
for example, the best way to maintain that product is sustainable is or replace it in one case, or at least to repair it. I think all this process from the start to the beginning is super important to know.
And talking about that, like continuing with that theme, how do you see the future of, for example, industrial design that has a role in creating products and furniture? How do you see the future of industrial design and of this industry?
I think it goes super well. I think the industry is considering all these topics like selection the material, the use of the product, possibility of to create or replace and repair it to in the end, and recycle. I think the industry is taking care of it and selecting better the materials and the process they use, uh, try to become as sustainable as they can, and developing it. little by little, but I think they are considering.
That is super interesting. I think that like linking this to well-being at home, what would you tell interior designers to start using more sustainable products so that we can achieve a more like a well-being from what we do at home from our design projects with people,
Sorry, I cannot
like
understand
linking these to well-being, like
yes.
having sustainable products to achieve well-being at home. What would you maybe tell designers to achieve this well-being at home?
I think the best way is to know perfectly the user you are going to create the product for. I think
Yes.
that's the best way. If you know are allowed or you are trying to create a massive product, the I think the best way is to create a user, a model user, we can
Mhm.
say, to understand the best we can to obtain a product that fits with the requirement of the user during the use of the product. I think it's this the best way to know the best you can the user.
Yes. I, I think we are in the same page that it is the most important, like to really know the users, and that's the only way where you can go uh, through all the levels of needs that somebody needs to feel good in their home and to really achieve that well-being through their home. So now I wanted to open for questions because this is a very different kind of conversation that we have been having. So let me read because we have already questions from people. Very interesting, but how would you define sustainability today in the furniture and home decor world beyond just the choice of materials?
Okay. I think the the designer should um, uh, define sustainability.
You can read it there,
Yeah, yeah. I think.
yeah.
Good question.
It's a good question, yes.
I think if the products fits with the requirements of the space and the user or users they are going to use, probably is the best way. I think it's a sustainable choice because if the product is sustainable, it's
Hmm.
okay. But after that, it depends very much with the use you do with the products. You buy it a super sustainable product that could be, but
Yes.
you finish the use of and you don't want it in your home at all. That's not sustainable for me.
I absolutely agree with you, and I was going to make the same comment. I think there's one thing that the product is completely sustainable, like you just explained, but there's also the use and how we consciously and with intention decide that this product is the one that I'm going to use because it is more friendly somehow, or it
Yes,
becomes um, meaningful to me because for me as a user it's important to be respectful with the world and with the environment. So there are like two things that need to happen for a product to be sustainable. And
so
one is definitely the materials, the process where all our the products come from. And there's another one, and it is how we consciously use that product. And that is also something that comes with a place or a home that has meaning, no? Because
yes.
if these kind of things are meaningful for us, then they are going to be sustainable, no?
Yes.
There's another comment. I'm going to read it. When you see tons of crap people buy on Temu and piles of crap around the world, your generation need to save the planet through constantly reminding us of the conscious purchase of for our home.
Okay.
I think that's not a question but a comment.
Yes.
What do you think about that with all the consumption from
I agree.
Temu?
It's massive. I think it's massive and necessary. I think. Uh, I believe that my generation see other people buying constantly too much products, beautiful products with aesthetic, super details that probably fits in their home or in their life, but probably in yours doesn't. But you see it and you buy it without thinking before,
Okay.
is it necessary for you or not? I think yes, for example, Temu, but other
A lot of
other
others.
markets, but
Yeah.
there are tons of them,
Yes.
and we probably every week buy one.
Yeah,
It's
that
sad, but I don't know why. Why probably the industry probably is changing, but we not, and that's a problem. I think.
yes. I absolutely agree with you, and it's a stem to mention one, but we
Yes,
can talk about all the stimuli that we get, not only in interior design, but in many different aspects. No, like fashion, a lot of things that
yes.
we buy and buy and buy and buy and buy, and it's difficult to keep conscious about the way we consume. So that's also, for me, that's also part of what we are supposed to do, and what we are supposed to it's part of our responsibility to make things more meaningful. So
And
we have another.
also,
Go ahead, go
Mappy,
ahead.
I remember a phrase of Dieter Rams. You know who is Dieter
No.
Rams? So as an industrial designer that
Mhm.
works too many years with Brown, for example,
Yes.
that give us a number of phrases about what is good design, and one
Hmm.
of them is innovative design. Design is to be innovative, and I think this kind of products doesn't work. Probably much of them doesn't probably not to exist for
Yeah.
us, or it's not necessary.
Yes. They don't match in a definition
No,
of good design, no,
just
because it is everything but respectful,
yes.
which is what we are talking about today. And we have another question. I'm going to read it also for you. In a world where people consume furniture and decor so quickly,
Yes.
that's what we're talking about, how do you approach creating pieces that people truly connect with emotionally and want to keep over time?
Yeah, okay. I think I usually do when I'm starting to create new products is to looking for a history. I think it's important
Mhm.
to not only to create a form. That's every object has a form. Could be more aesthetic or less, but not all the objects has a history about how it's created. Um, what is the inspiration behind the product. I think every product should have almost one. If you have more, better. I think is could be a product that has a meaning in
Mhm.
the not only for a product. If you explain it, then I think the user probably notice that.
Okay. And what kind of meaning do you think something personal, or what kind of meaning do you?
Both I usually take inspiration in nature, for example,
Mhm.
but sometimes it's kind of state. For example, I have an object called embrace That happens during I was walking almost alone in Cadiz,
Mm-hmm.
and I think, okay, I will talk with someone or stay with other people. I want to create an object that remains you, that you have more people around you, and that's how it creates. That's an example, for example.
That's it's like an sculpture that we can see in
Yes,
the website of
yes,
KAOKA, that is like two people hugging, no? So that
yes.
the people who are here, if you want to go to the KAOKA website, you can go and you're going to find embrace over there. But yes, for example, that is something that is meaningful for somebody, and
Yes,
that's something that that person would like to keep for a longer time. And I truly think that this is, like, again, like our responsibility, from your side as industrial designer and from our side as interior designers, to be responsible in not only following trends but making objects meaningful so that they can become sustainable.
yes.
Well, I think that we don't have any more questions, but I would like for you to give, like, maybe a final message to finish our conversation
Okay.
to the people. We have a lot of designers and architects that follow us and that have watched this content, and for sure, maybe this a final reflection of what do you think all of sustainability and everything that we have talked about for these designers and architects.
Okay, I think it's super important nowadays to take care from the start of the any project. It could be the final result of a space, an object, everything, to take care the sustainable impact they are going to take the all the process, or what are going to do, not only the final object we create. And that's super important for me. I think every designer and architect should take care from the beginning.
Yeah. Well, before we go, there's one more question that I think it's very important because we haven't talked about that, and it is, how do you approach marketing and sales? Actually, we talked about that before starting.
uh,
How do you approach marketing and sales in KAOKA?
okay, now we are online, mainly online. You can buy the products, some products, lamps, tables, in the website of KAOKA,
Mhm.
Sustainable Habitat. And now, I don't know if any of the viewers are in Spain, but we're going to take a pop up in a supermarket here in Cadiz, in Vallasur. We are going to take all the products here in the stand, so you can also buy it physically, take it, touch it, see it, or in
Very
direct.
nice.
I think it's super important, and probably you will see the all the materials, the process we use, and I think it's quite interesting for all the people who didn't know this kind of materials they are going to develop and the processes we are using, and probably it's going to be interesting.
Kirsten is saying you have a beautiful website. That's true. You should really go to KAOKA's website. And regarding that, I really encourage people to follow this this brand because they take sustainability, I think, to a different level. It's really like part of their DNA of how they think, what they do. And as you can see, not only from the side of the product, of course, Pedro speaks a lot about the product because he's the one he has developed the products, and he's a very technical, and he's an engineer, but also they are conscious about the use of the products, and if they want to make them really really sustainable, that they have to think about how to make it meaningful for people. So I really, Pedro, wanted to thank you for this space of today, and being open and having this conversation with us. And we hope that we can continue working together
For sure.
in the future.
For sure. Thank you very much again for the invitation. It's a pleasure.
Okay, everybody, thank you very much. So we will see you tomorrow with the final day of the Deeper Than Design Summit. We will be talking with Kirsten Steno. She's gonna be tomorrow, and we're gonna talk about her upcoming book, Deeper Than Design, among other things. So thank you very much, and see you tomorrow. Bye bye.
Bye.